human beings, all human beings, regardless of where they live, how much money they make and stuff like that, have some common fears. A bunch of smart guys did a bunch of research over like 20 years, wrote a big ass book, and then somebody simplified it down to like 5 basic fears that human beings have. The first is we have the fear of death, okay? The second is we have the fear of the outsider. The third is we have a fear of chaos. The fourth is we have a fear of an unclear future. And the fifth that we have is, I always spell this word wrong, so I'm sorry, insignificance. Boil all people all over the place. These are the 5 most common fears that people have. So I'm going to address a couple of these really quickly and a couple of these in depth, because this right here transformed it for me as a leader. Okay? Learning this changed the game for me. And I learned this by going to an event, and it was a leadership workshop, and they ripped my soul open and they poked in there, and it really opened my eyes of how to be a better leader. All right? So we have this fear of death. Now, each one of these fears, okay, and I'm just going to type in the box here to give you a visual, okay? Each fear drives a need. Does that make sense? So they have a fear which drives a need that we can meet oftentimes as a leader, okay? So the fear of death, all right, drives the need for security and safety, all right? So one of the ways that you can fulfill this need of security that people have is build a strong, profitable business so that they don't have career death, okay? And it's not just physical death here, but it's career death, relational death, things like that. Certainly we have physical death, which is why it's important to have things like a safety program and to train people and to supply respirators or ear protection or eye protection, or, you know, do safety training and stuff like that, have the right equipment, and don't take shortcuts with that, all right? I'm not going to spend much time on this one because it's not as impactful to me as the other ones, all right? But hopefully that makes sense. Fear of death drives a need for security. How can I make my people feel more secure? Second one, we fear the outsider. Okay, so I'm going to speak about some of these in the terms of you as a leader with your team, and I'm also going to speak to some of these as you with your customers, all right? So the fear of the outsider, what would that look like in a company? We always talk about the first day on a project, setting expectations, and we do these pre-job visits, and you know, we transfer the trust, and we do everything we can to have a good start to a job. Well, it's just important when you hire an employee. When they walk in the door, I can't tell you how many times through the years an employee would walk onto our job site, and I would look at him and I would literally say out loud, shame on me, you're starting today? Okay? Basically, I went and hired this guy or this girl, and they come on their first day and they're treated like an afterthought, okay? And so we have to put some intention into how to include people, because this fear of the outsider, okay, and I'll just type the little arrow thing in here again, it drives the need that we all have for community. We want to be accepted. We don't want to be, like Dan said, the odd man out. I remember I was hired I was selling nails and nail guns and fasteners and shit like that to carpenters many, many years ago. I got hired on December 23rd, okay? December 23rd, at the end of the day, the boss called everybody into the room, or whatever it was. There's like 50 employees there. He walked around, smiled at everybody, and handed everybody in the room a $100 bill, okay? Said, hey, Merry Christmas, I appreciate you, whatever it was. Dude dropped $5,000 in about 15 minutes, walking around, personally shaking everyone's hand, looking them in the eye. He gets to me, hands me a crisp $100 bill, and at the time, I was in a financial spot. So that made a big difference to me, I'll tell you right now. And he said, I'm so glad that you're a part of your team. And you know what I did? I tried to hand him the $100 back because I literally said, and his name was Garth. I said, Garth, I haven't done anything to earn this. You just hired me. This is my first day. I've done nothing. I haven't brought anything into this thing. I'm just the new guy. And Garth's response to me was simply, dude, you're here. You're part of the team. You're part of the family. Merry Christmas. And he handed me the $100 back. Okay. He made me feel welcome. Okay. Fear of the outsider also plays it in other ways. Maybe you hire a new sales guy or a new foreman. In fact, there's somebody I'm thinking about right now. I don't know if they're on this call, but I work with them one-on-one. They have an employee who's a rock star, and they're looking at, and they've been kind of bringing in another employee, and the rock star guy is all got his panties in a bunch about it because he's threatened because it's the new guy, it's the outsider coming in because now, ooh, what if this guy knows more than I do? What if this guy takes my top dog position away and things like that? And that's where it's on you as a leader in those situations to make sure you're bringing everybody together. You understand how everybody fits together and how we win together because none of us are on an island, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's talk about your customers. You sell a project, and I'll use painting because that was my world. You know, for many, many years, we did thousands of jobs. Salesperson goes out to the house, has a nice shirt on, pulls up in a nice company vehicle, puts the little booties on, walks into the house, closes the deal, right? They get the trust of the customer. Crew shows up. Oftentimes, it's a different story. They're late, they're messy, they look like shit. There was no communication from the day that you sold the job till the day that the crew showed up 3 weeks later. All you know is you hear a knock on the door and you got somebody like Greg Dempsey, 6'5", looking at you going, yeah, we're here to do your project. Guys, it's intimidating to people, especially those of us that mainly work with the woman and serve the woman because the woman's home in most cases for a lot of contractors. You guys see where I'm going here? So you got to go, how can I create community with my customers as well? Because they fear the outsider. Is this guy a pedophile? Is he going to take a shit under my stairs? I mean, guys, I've seen it all. We've seen it all, right? So you got to think, what are some ways that I can build community with my client and my team before we even get to the job, before we even, open a can of paint? And that's why email automations are important. That's why the videos like Derek does, where he does a selfie video. And one of them was like, hey, Carolyn, we're loading the trailer right now. And there's Travis, and there's so-and-so, and blah, blah, blah. We're loading the trailer right now to come out and install your flower beds or whatever it was tomorrow. Guys, that creates community. It puts that, it minimizes that fear of the outsider. This is also why I think content is so important. And doing bios on your website of the people on your team and social media and letting people see you. Guys, all these things meet that need that all of us have to have a strong community and not be threatened by an outsider. All right? Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. I think you guys are going to say yes, so I'm just going to keep going. And if it doesn't, just say, hey, I got a question. All right? The next one, the fear of chaos. As humans, we don't like chaos. Now, we disguise it by going, oh, it's controlled chaos. That's bullshit. Nobody likes chaos. Nobody wants chaos. All right? The fear of chaos, I'm typing it in here again for you, drives the need for order. Think of your employees. Do they know where they're going next week? Do they know the scope of the job? Or are you always pulling it out of your ass? Are you always winging it? Okay? People want order. People want to know what the next step is. Chaos is not a good thing. Chaos just comes. There's enough things outside of our control that can create chaos. The key here to being a better leader is to take control of the things you have control over, all right, and intentionally say, this is where we're going to have order. This is why I beat the drum every damn time I do a call with you guys about having weekly meetings with your team. Bring them together, create community, right? Create security that, hey, this is what's on the radar in the company. This is what's coming. Here's a 15-minute, thing that we're going to do on eye protection for you guys. And we invested in this training or whatever it is. Like all these things, guys, are good things. But if you don't have order in your business, it's going to be much harder to be profitable. It's going to be much harder to sustain and build a strong business. And again, this is about leadership. You have to commit to order. So right now, and same with your customer, right? So this kind of works both ways because they're human beings too. We all have these fears and these needs. Your client, they don't want chaos. Our secret weapon, my first business coach in the painting world taught me about the pre-job visit. And I've shared it with you guys, and many of you guys are doing it. That was our secret weapon to minimizing chaos when we were on somebody's property or inside their home. And I would use that in the sales process. I'd be like, hey, I know you're talking to a lot of other people and this and that. Would it make sense if I told you the number one reason why I think you should go with my company? And they're like, sure. I said, because the way we pre-plan a job, here's the form we use when my foreman comes out a few days before the job is there. It's got all these check boxes, the things that we talk about and promises I've made to you, things that are important to you, like, don't knock that bush over because my grandfather planted that 600 years ago and it really means something to us. Whatever it is, all these things that are important to you, this is one of the ways that we communicate it with our team and make sure we're all on the same page and we don't disrupt your life more than we have to, because at the end of the day, we know we're a bunch of strangers that are coming into your home. That one conversation closed a load of deals at me for 50 to 100% more than price-wise than my competitors. Okay, because we took control. We did everything we could to not bring chaos to people. So what I want you to do right now is type in the box. Type in the box the number one thing you're dropping the ball on right now that's putting chaos into the lives of your employees or your customers. What do you got? Job details, getting in the way, seagull management, not generating enough leads. Yeah, you don't have enough leads coming in, Thomas, right? Then that's chaos for your people. I've been there. I remember literally, just type yes in the box at 10:30 at night. Have you ever been sending a text to your team going, hey, I got us a job for tomorrow? Okay, that's chaos. Okay, I did that hundreds of times. All right, so the next fear that I want to address here is the fear of an unclear future. God, this clarity thing just keeps popping up. It won't go away. And the fear of an unclear future, typing it in the box here, drives the need simply for clarity. Okay? Many employees, many FWs leave our businesses because we don't have clarity for them. They have no idea what's in it for them if they decide to stick with your company. All right? Because it's easy to think the grass is greener somewhere else if I don't know where the fuck we're going now. All right? I've done this. You've done this. We've all done this. Take the time to have a mastery ladder in place, like I've talked about, clear job descriptions. What are the levels in the company? So if I start here and I'm making this, what do I got to do that's going to get me up here where I want to go? So that, remember, most of our employees have a significant other, a spouse, a girlfriend, a fiance, or whatever, people that are counting on them that are also in their ear going, I don't know why you work for this company. You've been at $17 an hour for 2 years now, and there's no clear future. You guys are week to week and blah, blah, blah. Where are you going with this? And they might not be saying it consciously like that, but I guarantee you their brain is working on it. Okay? So if you want to be a better leader, you have to provide a clear future for people with clear expectations of what it's going to take for them to get there. And if that ain't happening, you're making this a lot harder than you need to. A guy that I coached a while back, $3-4 million a year painting contractor. This was probably the number one thing, because I worked with him and his team and all this other stuff, and I came back and I was like, dude, here's the issue. You got people jumping ship and putting resumes out and applications out because they don't think you have any work. And he's like, what? I'm a $3.5 million company and I got $1 million booked for the next 7 months or whatever the hell it was. I just booked $1 million a couple weeks ago. The problem is there was no whiteboard. There was no communication letting people know what was on the horizon. There was no weekly meeting where the salespeople were talking about jobs they just sold and things like that. And what it did is it created all this uncertainty of a clear future for people. And they started getting scared, and some of his top people started jumping ship. Well, we immediately implemented a weekly meeting, and he put a damn, folder thing on the wall that said, here's the different months, and they put job folders in it. So when the guys walked into the shop, they just glance over. That's all they did. They'd glance over and they'd see, oh, wow, there's a shit of folders in October. Wow, we got some in December already. This is cool. It gave them clarity. Does that make sense? All right. Final one is insignificance, which drives a need that people have, and that's to be significant. We all want to matter. We all want to have an impact. We all want to feel like the work we do, somebody gives about, okay? And before I open my mouth with a couple ideas, I want to put it in your court right now, you guys, the few of you that are interacting in the chat box. What are some ways that you could meet the need that your people have to feel significant? What are some grassroots, boots on the ground type things that you feel that you can pay attention to, implement to help your people feel that what they do matters?